and welcome to another edition of Impact. I'm Heidi Phillipson.
And I'm Nick Barber.
And this is the show that's making impact on community as the community makes an impact on us. Speaking of which, what's our email address?
Our email address is impact@proctors.org. So let's hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you because there's lots of topics out there and we can't always come up with them all by ourselves, can we?
No, but what's the first topic? What's coming up?
Yeah, CEO of Proctor's, Philip Morris, is going to be interviewing Robert Altman of WMHT, and they're going to be talking about none other than the future of television.
Great, that's where we are now. Impact, Open Stage Media. And after that, you have a guest, Sean Schaefer.
That's right, cinematographer Sean Schaefer from Amsterdam, who will be talking about the big LA feature on which he was a cinematographer, Love Orchard, with Christina Loken and the big star Bruce Dern.
Oh, that's great. Lots of film and television coming to this area recently. That's great.
And a lot more on the program here, so don't go away.
Don't go away.
Welcome to Impact. I'm Philip Morris, CEO of Proctor's, and I'm the interviewer for this arts segment. And today our guest is Robert Altman, President and CEO of WMHT, Educational Television and Radio for the Capital Region. Welcome, Robert.
Great to be here, Philip.
Great to be with you, great to be talking with you, and great to be working with you as we've just completed a 10-day exercise in the region around MoHu.
Yeah, fabulous experience for, I think, everybody in the cultural community. The opportunity to work together with some of our colleagues and really show, I think, the whole community that the arts and cultural institutions can be a real leader in getting the whole region to work together on things.
So you chaired this thing, Robert. What kind of observations do you have out of that?
I think the observations that come to many of us who moved here, I'm about 3 years into my stay in the Capital Region, which I hope will be a long one. But in so many ways, we're broken up into lots of smaller communities, and that's wonderful. Everybody wants a place, a place where they live, be it Schenectady or Troy or Albany or Saratoga, and that sense of place is so strong here, and it's terrific. But it also has another side to it, which is if we're going to support the kind of cultural institutions that the region deserves for a region this size, we need to train people to cross rivers from time to time, to go from community to community, to enjoy and experience the cultural riches, not just of their own hometown, but of their own home or region. And that's, there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of history here that keeps us in our own.
Well, you made an observation to me at one point when I was using the notion that we're the inheritance of 4 small cities, and trying to weave that into a 1 million population MSA isn't easy. And you made the observation comparing MHT to Philadelphia's public radio.
Yeah,
television.
Sure. I mean, there are lots of regional institutions in Philadelphia. If you're the Philadelphia Orchestra or any of the theaters or anything like that, you're serving the whole region because there's a real center to it here. Here there aren't a lot of institutions that exist in the ether as we do. I mean, we, in a way, we have a building, obviously, and studios, but television, radio exist in the air. So we feel we've got a kind of a special responsibility as a truly regional institution to try and help enhance that kind of cooperation among all of the institutions.
Well, and one of the observations, I don't want to hide from it, is that in Philadelphia, the public television was not the largest institution by a long shot.
That's right.
And here you're amongst the largest.
That's right. That's right. And that's, I think, because so many of the other cultural institutions here are in a narrower sphere of influence than they would be if there was only one center to this region. There are many centers.
Yeah. So running WMHT, tell us, make sure we are clear. What does that mean? What encompasses that?
Well, WMHT has now 3 television stations, the traditional Channel 17 that everybody has known for many years, which has the mix of PBS programs, kids programs, news and information programs, arts and culture. Since the conversion to digital transmission that happened a couple of years ago, we also have 2 additional channels. One, Create, which is a channel entirely of how-to programming, something that public broadcasting really brought to the country long before there were food channels or how-to channels of other kinds. And then PBS World, which is all non-fiction television, documentaries and the like. So 3 television stations, radio services for classical music on WMHT FM down the river at WRHV FM. 24 hours a day of classical music, a great bonus for this region to have the great work that WAMC is doing, completely unrelated to us on the news and information side, and to have a full-time classical music station as well. There aren't many markets this size that have that. And then we also have a second music service on WEXT, which is 97.7, which is a AAA music. Lots of local music, local bands, singer-songwriters.
What does AAA stand for?
Adult Album Alternative, which is as meaningless as it sounds in many ways. It means whatever the program director thinks it means, but basically it's singer-songwriter stuff, it's independent rock music. It's the kind of music that you truly listen to. Not a huge commercial following, but lots of particularly singer-songwriters who you would know. We've made a point on that station, as we do on all of them, to be really supportive of the local music
Oh yeah,
community.
it's incredible, the local scene.
So that you'll
That's
hear
really great.
our local 518 music during every hour of the day. It's not just that we've created a local music segment and put it on at 3 o'clock in the morning. Every hour features some local music, and we've had great support from the local music scene here, and I think we've in turn been very, very supportive of their growth as well.
So some of the things that I've read about the classical music radio are pretty depressing. One of the things that was pretty humorous, actually, it was the penultimate meeting of the live classic music record flippers, right? And they're sitting there quietly, about 10 of them in a room, remembering that 15 years ago there was a big conference and convention with them being pitched all kinds of stuff by all kinds of companies, and all that being gone.
Well, it's interesting because, of course, the demise of the classical music audience has been predicted for a long time, because it's an aging audience, but it's been an aging audience for quite a long time. So
that's because we all age.
We all age, and we see many, many people returning to classical music when they're 50 or 55 or 60. So we've been lucky, in a sense, in getting those returnees, and our audiences are actually quite strong right now. It's interesting, though. I say people are returning to classical music when they're 45 or 50 or so. The biggest danger for us is one down the line, because you don't return to it if you've never been exposed to it in the first place. For many people, that happens at home. It happens in the car radio with their parents. But for many, many more, it happens in school. Or it happened in school when I was growing up, and perhaps when you were growing up. It's happening less and less now with the challenges our schools are facing in terms of their own budgets. So the critical role of arts and education in the schools is not just for the sort of individual enrichment of the student, and that's the critical part, but it's for the future health of all of the institutions that we value so highly, because when the next generation of kids turns 50, if they've never been exposed to classical music, they may not discover it for the first time.
Well, can you talk about it nationally? What's it seems like the trend is really downward. Number of stations
Absolutely.
I know of have stopped doing classical music. To talk about that?
That's exactly right. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons I mentioned we're so lucky here. There are only a few dozen all classical stations left across the country, and in many markets larger than our own, they've gone away completely. It's interesting because in many places, classical music was a robust commercial service, so you had robust commercial classical stations. As they evaporated, as people couldn't make enough money on a classical music station, and as the media market heated up and people were selling and reselling stations, people chose other formats where they could break up the hour more, plug in more and more commercials. Difficult to do, obviously, on a classical station. So commercial classical music is almost entirely gone in this country, except in the largest of the markets. And that's left the burden or the responsibility to public radio. And there aren't new radio stations being invented. The dial is crowded in a way, so that places like our own that have had a long heritage of this have been lucky and have been able to keep it. Places with only a single service, where once upon a time that service might choose to be part news and information and part classical, are almost all choosing one or the other. So it's a difficult time. Add to that the sort of competition from satellite radio, from people essentially programming their own life on their iPods and everything like that.
iCloud.
It's a challenging time out there for
well, I've noticed in my listening to you guys that in fact you have chosen shortened formats. I mean, only at night do you hear an entire 3 movements of a symphony. You know, by day it's all 5 minutes and under.
Certainly during drive time, you see a single movement. Hear single movements of orchestral pieces, often not the entire thing, and that's driven in part by the way people are using the radio during those times. But it is a matter of sort of adjusting the expectations of the audience, trying to give them something that will challenge them to enable them to grow, because people are looking for new things, while at the same time ensuring that the audience remains strong and is hearing things that they come to us to hear. So it is like everything, like I'm sure it is in your business, a balance of the familiar and the new, and then packaging it in a way that it'll make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible.
Now, Robert, I've been given the clue that our time's over, so you're coming back,
okay,
and we're going to do this conversation on television, because I have many questions that I think people might be interested about television. Thank you for what you do. Thanks for your impact on the community, and thank you for your volunteer efforts with MoMov.
Great to be here.
We'll be back. This is Impact. Philip Morris, thank you very much.